whose case he was dismissing, because I hurried up and filed an appeal and explained to the appellate court, the Second Circuit, that I was denied equal access to court due process. And they granted that. Now, let me tell you what the power is of them granting my appeal. Because the judge on the trial court level in the district court, he denied it because the first thing he said was, it appears, this is his exact words, it appears that the trust needs an attorney. And it has to do with domestic relations law, because that's family court. And the amount of controversy, which he mentioned what she was getting from the trust was $2,000. I never mentioned anything about $2,000. I asked for $75,000, which is the minimum amount you can ask for the jurisdiction of the federal court. He didn't mention that in his order. He only mentioned the amount of money she was already getting paid. So, interestingly, when I got in front of the Second Circuit Court of Appeals 3-judge panel, the middle judge, the black lady judge, asked me, could you have asked for more than 75? I said, yes, Your Honor, I could have asked for more. And the judge didn't give you an opportunity to amend your, no, he didn't even hold a hearing. And 2 weeks later, I got the summary order saying they granted my appeal. Now, let me again reiterate. Why is that important? Because they could have easily confirmed by saying, well, you need an attorney, and this is dealing with domestic relations law. But they recognize that as the trust protector of an express trust, which is in Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 17E, I can represent the trust without an attorney. Now, what did that do? Now, let's fast forward to why we are here now, why I'm here now. For 11 years now, I've been helping homeowners fight foreclosures. For more than 11 years, I've been trying to find an attorney that would aggressively advocate with the information that we knew was a winner on behalf of the homeowners. Couldn't find one, can't find one, haven't found one. But guess what the Most High revealed to me? I can represent the homeowners myself in a trust. Huh? And they can't stop me. So the reason why we are creating this focus group trust, and I'm gonna get back to the sister who irritated me so much, because I offered her what I'm offering everyone here. Because they just sold her house, which I don't care if they sold it or what, because what are we talking about? We're talking about a void judgment. And my sister Cheryl in the back knows there's no statute of limitations on a void judgment. So I don't care if they sold it, how long ago they sold it. There's no limitation when you come forth with the proof that the party that got the judgment didn't have a right to get it, wasn't there in its proper capacity, with standing. The legal term is standing to sue. They didn't have the standing to invoke the court's jurisdiction. So I could bring that argument up because what? And the Moors will tell you all day, every day, jurisdiction is key. You can argue jurisdiction anytime in the course of a litigation. Even after the litigation, 30 years after, you can argue jurisdiction. So I don't care if her house was sold, but she had a problem with putting me in control of it or in a trust. Sweetie, you already lost the house. You think I'm going to take it from you now? The bank just sold it at auction. You're afraid to put me in a position to argue your interests because you think I might take it from you now? If she wasn't a good friend of mine, I would not have even taken any of the calls after that. I was incensed. But that's also an issue that I'm bringing to your attention. If anybody here who wants to be a part of this focus group trust has a problem with bequeathing that trust, that property into trust, then I can't help you. You know, you continue on doing whatever you're doing. But this is the thing that I mentioned when Sister Karen and my brother here was here, when the young lady in the back was talking about an exit plan. I said each and every one who does this will sign a contract with the board. And that's Brother Raheem, and I think there's only like 2 other people. So each individual homeowner will go into contract, private, personal contract, for how you're going to get your property back from the trust should you be able to get victory. And what it's going to cost you. Okay? So you're really not losing your property. Temporarily, you have to put it in trust. But this is the other thing. If you got your own trust, then you can do it yourself. But you can also still appoint a trust protector. You can appoint me, and I can sign a contract with you to protect the interests of the trust. And then in the contract with you, we discuss whatever the compensation or your remuneration for that would be, because it has to go back to the trust. And one of the other things that I discussed with Brother Raheem here, we could take some of that money and invest it either in crypto or what some of these other things that's going on to build up wealth for the community. So if you don't even have that kind of knowledge or wherewithal to know how to do that, we're going to be in the process of doing that. Because just think for 1 minute, I got 30 people's houses, or we got 30 people's houses in a trust. That's a hell of an amount of capital. Huh? We might have $1 billion of capital in the focus group trust. We can create our own daggone crypto. Put Frederick Douglass on the daggone coin. And we would be the ones who would quantify the value of our currency. But that's a topic down the line. Me and this brother here was discussing that there's a lot of different ways we could go when we combine our distressed resources. It's only distressed on appearance because they're dealing with color of law. It's all of everybody's property is distressed under color of law because the United States government has been bankrupt since 1933. And there's no lawful money in circulation, only legal tender. And you know what is legal tender? Your promissory note. They monetize it. They securitize it. They put it into them PSAs, the pooling and servicing agreement to trade on Wall Street for investors. And I told one judge, when he asked me, what do you care what they do with your note? I said, excuse me, Your Honor? I said, they are securitizing my note, putting it into an investment tool, and offering it to investors on Wall Street, and then getting money from it. Shouldn't I be entitled to some of that money? Because they're using my note. At the very least, they could take some of that money they're making and pay down my mortgage with it. That's what I'm talking about. I told the judge that. You know what he did? What? He wouldn't look up at me. I'm standing right there. He's like this. You see? Because you know what I know? The judges is making money off it too. They got a thing known as the Court Registry Investment System. Huh? And you know what they do with your case? Your case and your case number. They monetize it and securitize it. So they part of the whole hustle too. They got a hustle going on too.
What's the name of that brother? I'm sorry.
The brother?
No, what's the name of that? How they monetize it?
The Court Registry Investment System. Google it. It's called CRIS. CRIS. State court does it. City court does it. All courts do it. They monetize. Guess what? They monetize the case. The docket number of the case. They monetize it and offer it to investors. Okay? So they ain't gonna help you. But this is the beauty of it. And let's give thanks to the Creator for, just having me experience that I have a way to navigate through their bullcrap, their whole hustle.
Ashay.
I have a way to navigate through where they gotta respect it and they gotta recognize it. You see, because this is the beauty of it. Let me tell you what the beauty of it. And I'm not bragging or boasting when I say this. I have been divinely prepared for this purpose right now, because I don't know nobody else doing it. But one thing I do know, I ain't scared of none of these devils. I worked in the BIM, the Central Punitive Segregation Unit on Rikers Island for 12 years, some of the worst inmates in the system. The Pappies and the Supremes, all of these cats. I was locking them in. And believe me, they had the kind of outside influence. They could have took me out if they wanted to. But they hadn't. They took out police officers sitting in front of people's houses back then. But I ain't scared of none of them. And when a judge, now remember now, I'm a Moorish scientist, and I'm a native indigenous Taino, Boricua, right? My mother's from Richmond, Virginia. I'm born right here in Harlem. But the truth of the matter is, right? This is my land.
That's right.
This is my inheritance.
That's right.
Okay? You occupy it. You're a denizen. Right? I'm indigenous from a lot of different bloodlines. And I'm claiming all of that. So when I look at these Europeans that's basically making rules, they're not making law. I am the law. Islam.
Islam.
I am the law. You are operating under rules, policy, ordinances, regulations. It's color of law. I have a jaw. I'm gonna say this real quick. They arrested me for driving with a IDP, International Driving Permit, because I gave them my driver's license. I was trying to get off the grid. And the cop that arrested me, when I cross-examined him because I was standing in my proper person, I asked him, how do you know this IDP was forged? He says, based on my experience. I said, oh, really? How much experience you got? So I've been on the job for 6 months. How many of these IDPs have you seen? That was the first one. Oh, but you're basing this on your experience? And what somebody was saying about these police, it was you, Brother Haiti. These police, these lawyers, they don't know the freaking law. So when you get in their face and you stand as the law, they can't see you. They can't see you because you are. They can't see you. They can't see you because you are the law. And when you tell them to their face they have no jurisdiction over the natural man or natural woman, they want to get incensed. Oh, you want them silent, they want to get an attitude. But then you ask them, do you have a claim against me? Do you personally, Your Honor, have a claim against me? No. The parties bringing the claim, they're bringing a claim against an artificial entity, against the straw man. I declare and I demand that they put on the record that they have a claim against the natural man and living soul, child of the living God, and not this all capital letter entity, which I actually own because I put a lien on it. I put a lien on that. I had a real estate broker do a search on my birth certificate QSIP number. Come to find out, it's trading for $2 billion in the T. Rowe Price Municipal Fund. Oh, really? I put a lien on it. I put a UCC 1 lien on it. And then I issued a $1 million bond to the trustee of the bankruptcy court to settle the debt. And I'm getting ready to sue her behind too because she's acting like she didn't get it. But you see now, she's in violation because didn't she take an oath to uphold the laws? Well, House Joint Resolution number 192 of June 5th, 1933 was when President Roosevelt declared the United States bankrupt. There's no money, there's no lawful money in circulation. It's only commercial paper and legal tender. And anything you put your signature on gives that commercial paper value. So your note, your promissory note, becomes money when you sign it. Right? And you know what they're using to fund that note? They're using your birth certificate credit. The credit they get from your birth certificate. I'm getting way off point. I want to get back to the fact that everybody in here, and I thank God for this brother sitting next to me, Brother Raheem, because I didn't think about the intake thing, but one of the things that I was going to bring everybody's attention. If you want to participate in the legal action I'm getting ready to file against these banks that have any claims against you, which is why Brother Owen was brought on board to let you know that he learned 90 or 95% of the mortgages that are being created are controlled by government-sponsored entities. Those are known as GSEs, like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, or they're FHA insured. So the party that we're going to be bringing the lawsuit on, the trust, the focus group trust, we're going to name all of the GSEs, all of the banks that they use to institute foreclosures against all of the properties that's being held in the trust. And if you remember, I told everyone here that I needed you to do your own research because I'm coming down from Connecticut. I can't go into the county land records and look up everybody's property. So everybody needs to know what they're looking for, how to look for it, and that's where Owen came in. And I will be asking from the intake, which I did want to have, and now that I think about it, I can draft up the trust in a matter of hours. But remember, it's private. And it's not going to be offered to anyone who doesn't bequeath their property into the trust. You're not going to get a copy of the contract, and you're not going to get a private contract with Brother Raheem and Sister Karen, the Board of Trustees. They will sit down with each and every one of you to work out whatever the terms of that agreement is going to be. Because not everybody's house is worth the same amount. So not everybody's going to, it's not like one size fits all, everybody pays the same amount. No, you're going to have to pay the trust for the work that we do. And it's going to be determined on several things. It's going to be determined on monthly payments into the trust. It's going to be determined on whatever money we can generate by creating investment opportunities for the trust. It's going to be events,
right.
That we do fundraising events here and there, because there may be a point where we requisition a law firm to assist, not to litigate. We just want them at our beck and call to help us with what is known as motion, practice, and maintenance of the case. See, a lot of people don't realize that's very expensive. Here in New York, even to file a motion, I think it's $45. So litigation costs money. So everybody here who wants to be a participant of the case, and it's not a class action, because I was on the phone with an attorney that Cheryl introduced me to. He said class action, and he's correct. Class actions have to be represented by an attorney, and they have to be approved by the court under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 23C. I was aware of that, which I sent him an email back saying, we're not doing a class action. If anything, I'll do a civil RICO or whistleblower case. But now, he also mentioned, the attorney that Cheryl introduced me to, he also mentioned that because as a whistleblower case, you're representing the government. You're coming in ex rep on behalf of the government. You're a party plaintiff, but it's the Foreclosure Revolution Focus Group Trust on behalf of the United States. That's called ex rep. And he mentioned that the government could take it over, the DOJ could take it over. And I said, I'm not going to let them do that if I go that route, which I'm leaning away from it. And the reason why, because Eric Holder, the United States Attorney General under Obama, He brought a lawsuit with 49 state attorney generals against these banks for this virtually the very same thing that we're going to bring on a case. And then they settled with them out of court and left all of the homeowners high and dry. Okay? Where you're still today, 10 years later, because that was back like 2010, you're still fighting your case. So we're not going to do a whistleblower key tam. More than likely, if we do anything, we would do either civil RICO or 1983 civil rights, Title 42, Declaration of Rights under color of law. And we might even add Title 18, 241, 242 in that because there are some criminal aspects to it. But believe me, it will be diligently researched and backed by facts and proof. Because that's what I do. So, again, I have not drafted the trust itself. And the trust contracts will be worked out with the Board of Trustees individually on an individual basis. If you're so inclined to participate in this movement, okay, and if you are, then fine. Then you still have work to do. You know, this isn't something you just sit back and think that some attorney's gonna carry your burden for you, because I know a lot of times people get an attorney, they think that the attorney does it all. No. You come into this, you're gonna have to do the research like Brother Hayes said. You gotta read. You gotta know why you have a right to do what you do. And then we'll be holding press conferences. And you may be required, or somebody might stick a mic in your mouth and ask you, you know, why did you get involved with this? So what happened? So you need to know what you're doing here and why. We're not doing anything illegal. We're not trying to hustle nobody. You know, everybody here has a role to play. You know, and we will be creating offices for each individual. Like, you know, we might have a public relations person. We might have someone who just does the vetting of whoever's coming on board, because we don't want, we probably gonna get infiltrated if we ain't infiltrated already, but we want to know who is in this group, where they come from, what their life story is, and why, you know, they're here. Because we know we as a people, we like to just pilfer off of each other, you know, and take advantage of each other. Okay? And I'm not gonna let that happen. So I'm gonna call Owen because he got sick this morning when I went to go pick him up, and I want him to explain to everybody in the last 15 minutes what you need to look for when you go into the land records and what he wants you to get. Because we'll probably have a meeting like this when we sit down and get everybody's information that they've garnered, and then we'll go through it and with a highlight pen and see, oh, look at this one here, look at the dates ain't right, you know. And then we'll know for each person's house what is the discrepancy. And then once we got that data, we'll convene a meeting with the district attorney, with Letitia James' office. We'll sit down there and show them the proof that we have.
Yeah.
And that within a matter of time, we're going to be filing actions against this. And we want to know what your office is going to do about it.
Yep.
And then we need to sit down with the assembly persons and whatever other state senators and ask them to introduce a bill, legislation, to create what? To create a commission of people just like you that can go into these daggone land records and ferret out all of the corrupt and toxic paper. So we'll be creating jobs too. Because with that commission, we want people in the community to know what to look for and go and do this on a daily basis. Because these daggone banks and law firms have not stopped with their little dirty tricks. They're still doing it. So we need to get these legislators to commission a unit, a deep theft fraud unit. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
But they need to go in there every daggone day and ferret all of the toxic paper out of there. And we get people, maybe some of these people right in here, because you will already know what to look for. You know, you get a job. Yeah, we got 10 people for you, Governor Hochul that can be on the commission for this county to look up the stuff that we need to look up. And in fact, we can sit down and draft a bill.
Yeah.
An introductory bill to let these people know we need, because okay, you got the deed theft law passed. You got the Foreclosure Prevention Act passed. But they can't move unless you got somebody going in there and getting the information to use those daggone laws.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we need teeth in those laws. The teeth is the commission unit, the unit that's gonna go and do what we're getting ready to do. Let me call Owen, 15 minutes left, and get him to tell y'all what to look for quickly.
I know you guys got some questions for,
Yeah, go ahead, ask the questions.
you want to get Owen on first. Thanks, Karen is here. Thanks, Karen, for coming and participating and adding on to the intake questions. So yeah, we're gonna do that. We got 15 minutes. And Karen brought some fruits here for the ones there. Thank you, Karen.
He wasn't
Cold water. Oh, anybody want cold water? Cold water is at the front desk for $1. Nice cold water. With Ivy?
I can't hear you.
When they come to court, right? When they bring the action to court.
Yes.
The bottle of cold water.
How do you get your hand on the original loan document itself?
The original loan document,
Yeah.
you do a discovery request. So I don't know at what point in the litigation you are,
Right,
but normally there's a thing called discovery.
right.
So if, for example, they didn't provide those documents for you in the summons and complaint,
Right.
then you can ask for them, yeah. But you see, the way I do discovery, I ask them not only for the documents, I ask them to show me the account that they forwarded money to loan me.
Yeah, we did that.
You did that too?
I got a whole box out. I had a box of all the discovery stuff. And it showed in the box, when you ask for discovery, it shows the fraud in it. It shows the fraud in it. When you get those documents, it shows the fraud in it. That's what my lawyer did. I mean, I was a pro se litigant, but my lawyer was helping me through the procedure.
Now, underneath UCC 9-203B, Google that real quick, because I don't want to give you my interpretation. Google real quick UCC 9-203B. And that goes to what you just said, right?
UCC 9-203B. UCC 9-203B, boy.
Right. Now, once you find out that they didn't loan you any money, then the problem with that is they don't have any loss mitigation. You familiar with the term loss mitigation?
Yeah.
That means you have something that you put out that you need to get back. In so many words. So if you never put anything out that you're entitled to get back, then you don't have any loss mitigation. And the language that you would use at that point is they fail to state a claim for which relief can be granted. You see? But now, with the UCC 9-203B, and I want to make sure I'm giving you the right. When they don't have loss mitigation, and I'm going to read it to you real quick. This kicks in. When they don't have loss mitigation, when they have not suffered any liability, then this comes in. And it says, attachment, and I'm going to read it right from there. Attachment and enforcement of a security, right? So under the UCC 9-203B, it says, except as otherwise provided in subsection C through I, a security instrument interest is enforceable against the debtor and in third parties if, and then number one says if value is given.
Mm-hmm.
See that?
Yeah.
If value is given, number one. If value.
Yeah,
and
value
what,
has been given, right?
and what is value in a contract? And consideration. What is value and consideration in a contract?
Anybody?
Yes.
Should be money.
Should be.
It is money.
Value and consideration is money. So if you can't prove to me that you gave me anything of value and consideration in the transaction of a mortgage, you can't enforce the mortgage. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's the law right there that tells you. So one of the things that I would ask people who was at the time when they was doing Obama mediation, they had this little mediation thing in Hamp, I think it was called, where you would go into the daggone court with a court supervisor and a bank, and you would sit there. I would always ask them, the homeowner, go in there and ask them, what account did the money they loaned you come from? What account did it come from? And what my brother here just said, well, he did that, and there was none, right? So at that point, I'm putting in a motion to dismiss because you have suffered no loss mitigation. You have failed to state a claim for which relief can be granted. And unless you can prove to me that you actually loaned me money, then we should just end this right here. In fact, I should be suing you. So that's what we do. But now, mind you, I'm at the stage now because I have used this, and do you know the judges just act like it don't mean nothing? Huh? Which is telling me they in on it, right? So at that point, I'm like, how do I take this out of the judge's hand? Because the judge, he's not even doing whatever.
Good question.
But now this is the beauty of it. This is the beauty of it. And the Most High, let's give praise. Open my eyes. You have to have your own trust. Because when you come in there and you don't have one, they create what is known as a resulting trust, which is also sometimes known as a constructive trust. Every case, even a criminal case, is a trust action. Because when they convict you and lock you up, do you know what money they're using to house you and care for you? And you know where the money's coming from to do that? Not the taxpayer. It's coming from your own Social Security account. The bond on your birth certificate. And all they do is they fill out the government forms, the SF-25, the SF-25A. They fill out these forms and they turn it into the daggone treasury. And then the federal treasury goes into your birth certificate account, goes into your Social Security account, and pays the state to keep you locked up. So you're paying for your own daggone problems.
File taxes accordingly.
The judge don't file tax. If they file taxes, then you know that what what the judges do is Chris. They use that to securitize it and offer it to investors. So they make money out of your case too. Yeah. So when you don't have a trust, they create one, and the judge is actually sitting in the seat of the executor of your trust.
Wow.
He's operating as the executor, and you become the trustee. And actually, you can flip trustee over to your attorney. You can flip him into trustee by serving him with a Form 56. There's a thing known as what is it? Appointment Act, Power of Appointment Act of 1951. Google that real quick. Power of Appointment Act of 1951, where you can appoint your attorney as a trustee of your trust, or you can give the court notice that you are the executor and entitlement holder. You're actually the grantee. And I'll get into this more as we go on, because everyone in here has to take control over their trust. Even if you bequeath your property into the focus group trust, you have to have your own. Because when we give you your property back, we want to give it back to you in a trust. We don't want to give it back to you in your name. You should have anything in your name. You should have everything in your trust name. So each and every one who does this process, who joins this movement, will have to have their own trust. So when we're able to secure getting your house debt free, we don't give it back to you. We give it back to your trust. Okay? And if you don't have the means or the wherewithal to know how to manage your trust, then we will be teaching people within our community, our youth, or people who
are so inclined, will create a estate management, a cadre of people from our own community that knows how to manage your estate and assist you, but of course you're gonna have to pay. So we'll be creating jobs for
That's good.
our people
That's good.
to be estate managers. So that's another aspect. This is a big undertaking, I don't know, I think I know how serious you all might think this is. And of course, there's some skepticism, because we have been doing each other in as a people so long, you don't know who to trust.
That's right.
You understand? And this is why I got so annoyed with the sister. Your house was already sold. So what problem do you have bequeathing it? As far as they're concerned, you don't own it anymore. But you see, when I come on the scene, I'm gonna change all that. I'm gonna let them know that they don't even have a right. Because whatever judgment they got is void. So the first thing I'm gonna do is avoid a judgment complaint. I'm gonna do anybody whose houses has already been foreclosed, I'm doing void judgment complaints. To avoid the judgment, because the real party in interest wasn't before the court. And the court did not have jurisdiction to render a judgment. You see? Yes.
Okay, the case that was this happened with the 93-year-old, lady in, state, and they said that she was able to win her property back. Now I understand the developer now is suing her to get the property. I'm so confused with that case. She just won in the Supreme Court, and now they're actually suing her to come back at her to get the property.
What is their course of action?
So I wasn't able to look into it.
The only way I could answer you is if I know what their reason is. So she may have got the property back. Now, did she have an agreement with them? Was she in contract with them for anything?
That's the legacy property.
I don't know what that means. What is the legacy?
They had the property for generations. And
The lady who was 93 years old?
yes. And so now they want that. That they want it so badly that they are going against the Supreme Court has now,
We need to know what their course of action is.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
When you give me that, then I can give you a strategy. When I hear what their reasoning is, then I can give you a strategy how to block all that.
Because you have a lot of blueprint cases now, the indigenous Indians with their class action. You have several homeowner cases that's going to Supreme Court under the civil rights. And my concern is the fact that now they're attacking our civil rights. I'm concerned about our housing.
Well,
Good.
the thing of it is this. When you say to me, like indigenous people, there are laws on the books that protect them, that we can invoke, because quite honestly, anywhere a native indigenous person lives, that's native indigenous land. You can make that argument. This is an extension of whatever tribe I'm a party to. And there's federal law, I think it's 94 Supreme Court. There's a federal law, and I don't want to give you the wrong citation, that says Indian land or even Indians, they don't come under the statutory bullcrap. And I think the first time when everybody was, the second time when everybody was here, I gave a handout on public and private. Now, there wasn't any distinction of Indian law in there, but it probably come underneath the private side of all of that. Because we are all presumed to be property of the United States. We're presumed to be property of the United States based on two things: birth certificate or the naturalization certificate. So with those two instruments, they are automatically asserting whatever statutory laws and codes that they have created against us. The only way we can get out of that presumption is to declare your nationality, be affiliated with a federally recognized indigenous tribe, or just create your own jurisdictional authority, because you have the right to do that under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights
I think it's Article 15 that says everyone has a right to nationality.
So what is the Palestinians and Ukrainians rights?
Ain't got nothing to do over here.
No, but it's the same practice that they're doing overseas that they're doing here. And it's good to always do a comparison to see how they have been able to defend themselves against Israel for trying to take their land. And the same thing with the Ukrainians right now, that their sovereignty is gone. You know, because Putin is taking over.
Well, you have to forgive me, and please forgive me when I even say this. I don't care about them. I don't care about my people and the people in this room. I don't have time to wonder what they doing and how they doing it. We got to take care of our own. We got to get our own house in order first.
Right, but you gotta learn the both ends and to see, you know, how it is that we can use it.
We've been through enough over generations. We've been through way more than the Ukrainians and the Israelis, believe it or not. They're getting First Nation privilege from our tax dollars. So I could honestly give a damn about Israel or Ukraine. I feel sorry for the Palestinians, but remember this, sister, come on. The lands that they occupy belong to our ancestors. Yeah, so they moved us out of there.
Right.
Read Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Black Civilization.
Right.
He tell you who was there before them Arabs and them Palestinians was there.
Right.
It was us.
That's right.
So I really don't have any, and God forgive me when I say it, I'm not feeling it. They're getting their karma.
All right,
They're all
Karen,
imposters.
Brother Bay,
Yes.
this energy is great. Can we open up question and answer now? Or what?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And what you was going to call Brother Owens?
He didn't answer,
Okay,
so it must be sleeping.
go ahead. So we're in the Q&A? Are we in the Q&A right now? Okay, great. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say quickly, to tie what our sister just said here in response to that, to her question, and something you mentioned earlier, is civil rights. Before we get to civil rights, we have to have ourselves right first. Because how I see you, in contrast to who you know who you are, that plays a very critical role on how our combat or relationship, whatever, is going to turn out. So outcomes, type of outcomes we have. Palestinians know who they are, and Ukrainians know who they are. Do we know who we are? That's my response to that. And the whole civil rights thing come out. Great that we know our civil rights. Do you know your consumer rights? Because a lot of stuff that I hear Brother Duane kicking up here, it's not, I'm thinking of banking law. All I hear when I hear, I'm thinking New York State banking law, New York State, and New York City consumer law. We have to know your rights, know our rights as consumers, as well as our civil rights. And our human rights. And on a state level, they have that. You have a whole thing on New York State human rights. New York State real property action and receiving laws, and New York State banking laws, making complaints against these banks. We're going into the court. One of the things I think would help, and I know I would do this, I don't know if anyone else would, but I would definitely file a complaint with the New York State Banking Department, because any frauds or banking problems, they should know. Some may say, hey, you know, they're on the same side with the lawyers and all that stuff, but you know, you want to exhaust your remedies. You want when the court goes in there and say, oh wow, you know, the judge is looking at, you went here, you went there, you filed a complaint, you stayed on it, you're waiting for a response. You want to have them like this, handcuffed administratively. Your consumer rights, civil rights, human rights, like you mentioned, human rights. We got to do all of that in here, but we have to be clear. We have to sit down, do the work, roll up our sleeves, do the work, go into these statutes and codes. Something else before I forget.
Take your time, brother.
With Brother John. The Fair Debt and Collection
Practices Act.
Is that still valid today? I'm rusty.
Oh, that and the CFPB. That and the CFPB are the two most important acts on the federal level that you can twist these
Okay.
creditors, so-called creditors. Because remember, you are the creditor. They are loaning. There's laws that says a bank cannot loan credit. In fact, I'm working a credit card case right now where I did a private administrative trustee presentment asking them what account that they forwarded money to the credit card, because the credit card has your name on it. So the account that they're giving you money from is your own account. You got the name of the card on there, that's the name of the card. But the name, what is the name on the account? It's your name. So are you loaning me credit from my own account? I asked the question, they gotta follow the GAAP, which is the generally accepted accounting procedures of the Federal Reserve Bank. So they gotta follow that. There's Basel I, Basel II, there's all of these banking laws like you just said. It's good to familiarize yourself.
Treasurer secretary.
Well, yes, even with that. Because by law, the banks cannot loan credit. And they cannot loan depositors money. That's in the law. They cannot lend credit. They cannot lend credit. And they have no money. You know what the money is? Your signature. Your signature creates the money. You are the money. In fact, when I go into bankruptcy court, I wear all gold. I got a gold vest, I got a gold suit, gold hat. I come up in there, I'm the money. You know?
Concerning discovery, if there's been no discovery in the case, can we demand discovery?
Stop right there. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm working on a case right now with Pastor Sterling, where the judge granted summary judgment to bank when they never rebutted his discovery, his exhibits.
Yeah.
We did a civil RICO for him, and in his civil RICO, we went to the tax assessor's office and got a certified copy of the appraisal for the property on the taxes. Now the bank can mark it up maybe 3 times, but they've been overinflating marking it up. Right? Let's say 10 times. So you got a mortgage that was appraised in the tax assessor's office for $300,000, but they sold it to you for $700,000. That's called fraud. So but now this is the thing, we did it as a civil RICO because why? Civil RICO means corrupt business practice. So they didn't just do it to him. They did it to everybody, but he filed on his own behalf, right? So now the judge just granted them summary judgment. I put in a motion for reconsideration. I helped put in a motion for reconsideration. We both put it together. And in the motion for reconsideration, we pointed out to the judge that he was legitimizing the subterfuge of his constitutional rights. I'm gonna say that again because that is so prolific and profound, it's even poetic, that the judge granting of the summary judgment motion of the bank was legitimizing the subterfuge of the plaintiff's constitutional rights. In other words, you was sanctioning and giving legitimacy to corruption.
Wow.
Huh? And you know what he did? He did something that I've never seen a judge do. He put in his own order to show cause. What? We got an order to show cause from the judge. And you know what the judge wrote in his order to show cause? He wanted to know why Pastor Sterling did not properly litigate his case. So in other words, look at the game. Look at the game now.
Yes.
He flipped it off of himself of legitimizing corruption to flip it on him to say that he didn't prosecute his case.
No way they get away with that one.
Right? Right? So I'm waiting now because we got to put in a rebuttal to that. But mind you, anybody who knows this game, mind you, when you're doing a motion for reconsideration, normally they just double down and say deny.
Right.
And then you go into appellate court.
Yes. Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
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 He put it in order to show cause.
Hello.
Huh? So I'm preparing the whole case for the appellate court to show Because why? What you said. We had proof that the appraisal of the property was inflated and there was no rebuttal. They didn't put up no discovery to contradict. They didn't show anything. They didn't have proof. They didn't even put in an affidavit saying that his proof wasn't, and you granted them summary judgment and they didn't even show any discovery or nothing. Do we have to ask for it?
No due process.
Do we have to ask for discovery when we gave you the proof?
Give you
We already gave you the proof that the mortgage was overinflated. Here's it right here from where? From the county assessor's office, certified.
The payoff.
Huh? So tell me now what you got to supersede that or controvert that. What do you have? They never produced it, and the judge still granted them. Now let me ask you, would I be within my rights to sue that daggone judge?
absolutely.
The only thing I have to have is proof that he violated his oath. And do I have proof that he violated his oath?
All day.
So there's only two things you could sue a judge for: when he acts outside of his jurisdiction and when he violates his oath. You see? Because when he violates his oath, he purges himself of all of his authority.
I think the New York State Judicial Commission on, New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
Oh, they're gonna get a complaint. They're gonna get a complaint too. But I also learned about the Data Integrity Board. And the Data Integrity Board, write that down. It's called Data Integrity Board.
And the ethics board too.
So the Data Integrity Board, you can request a hearing with the Chief Administrative Law Judge.
I got a question. Yeah, what's that?
Data Integrity Board. Now, I don't know the process because I just learned about it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's an application. I don't know if you petition. I don't know the process, but I learned that there is a board known as the Data Integrity Board.
How do you get application?
I don't know how to do it. In fact, if anybody in here could learn the process, please bring it to my attention. Because I'm sure it's different for each county or each trial. But my experience has been they have their own way of doing things. So maybe here, they might require you to do this or require you to do that, whatever.
Each state
It's different.
Yeah.
Is that
So-
Owen?
Yeah, it might be. I wasn't gonna answer, but it might be. No, it's Brandy Lee. I'm not talking.
Okay.
I'm helping her with the credit card.
Special question. What's the remedy for that court won't enforce their own judgment?
Say that again?
The remedy from the court itself, the legal judgment, but they won't enforce their own judgment.
When I'm not
When
understanding.
the court want to enforce their own judgment, what is the remedy in the court?
Oh, well, they're not gonna enforce their own judgment. They're not. And that's why, listen now, that's why you have debt collector freaking companies. Because one of the hardest things to do is to get a judgment enforced. Even when you get the judgment, you think you won. No, no. These people put stuff in their children's name, somebody's name back home, and then you can't. They quit their job. They move. So you got the judgment. That's why a lot of these debt collector companies will buy it from you, but they buy it for pennies on the dollar. So you got a judgment for $100,000, you'd be lucky to get $10,000 out of it. They're gonna take it for the $100,000 and then go after them for the.
Do you realize during COVID, all the banks is on your title? There is no more banks, the servicers, now it's investors on your title. Because they jumped ship from the time of COVID.
Right.
So there's so much stigma to this whole thing, like I said, and that's why there's Reverend Hondo started the research of the banks by the zip codes, and he was able to see. And I want you to say this out.
Saw certain banks, trust, she's talking about, would have 5, 6, 8 houses per auction day in the same area, same geographical area, Southeast Queens. One entity every auction day. So they just targeted
Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's only
Tuesdays and Thursdays
Okay, well, you see, my
out of Delaware.
response to that goes to what the purpose of this focus group is. There's an underlying single denominator to all of this, whether it's a trust or servicing company, we know the fraud is in the fact that they presume you actually got loaned money. That's one. The other thing is these entities that are suing, they are assigning these rights to enforce something that 9-203B just told you. They never put up anything of value and consideration to enforce. And you know, from the standpoint, there's so many different ways to attack them. But the most simplest way first is to go after their standing. Is this the real party who actually loaned me money? So when we get that down to that denomination, did this party actually loan me money? Well, we know this party is not the real party because based on Owen's research, the real party are the GSEs. And they're foreclosing on FHA loans that are insured. So the loans are insured, so they're already getting the insurance money from the foreclosure. And now you want to come after me personally to take the property away, the collateral, right?
That's the government and the investors are working together hand in hand to get the properties back along with the nonprofits. The next thing is when they had when the Attorney General.
Can I put you on?
No, sorry.
We're live on
When
YouTube.
the Attorney General, Keisha James, she joined with the other the other Attorney General to have lawsuit settlements against these servicers. She would announce it as if she did something grand, that they've been able to win a settlement. But here in New York, all these homeowners
Still losing their house.
still losing their house. You have not informed the homeowners of these same particular banks, the services rather, that you won the settlement for. And that's what I want to hold her accountable for.
Well, again, I can't emphasize it enough. We have to do this as an organized group because you just going up there saying what you said, they just gonna brush you off like nobody. But when you have 20, 30, 40, 50 people or more that's getting in their face, and look, we done been to the land records, Letitia, and this is the pile of dirty, toxic paper we done pulled out of there. And these people houses is getting auctioned by these investor groups in bundles every week. And our group is going to file, the trust is going to file a lawsuit against these entities. And we want to know what your office, what position your office is going to take when we file these actions. Are you going to be supportive? Because we're going to be holding press conferences and banging this drum so loud that,
Damn right.
from here to there going San Francisco, they're going to know about it.
The last information I got about the revenue of all these auctions is when Blasio was in office. It was $12 billion.
That ain't nothing to the bank. They pay
So-
more than that in fines.
So the fact is now, if you actually go and check the data and how much the revenue has been since then, it's hard to find.
They don't want you to know.
Because you need to know what the revenue is. Then you have the gentleman, the lieutenant governor that was arrested the other day. He sat on the finance committee, bank, what you call it there?
Board.
He was the main one. And you're gonna tell me, along with New York State and New York City comptroller,
They've been doing that for
you're
years.
sitting there with the books and you see
They take people
all
from
the-
Goldman Sachs and put them in the president's
and you see and you
Right.
know how much money, how much revenue you're getting from this. And when I had what's his name, Spitzer,
Elliot Spitzer?
the
Schneiderman?
the comptroller previous 4 years ago. Who was that again?
Springer?
Springer. So Springer came to one of our meetings and he was to say, well, yes, this is the truth and we got to do something about it. The next thing I know, it was on a complete turnaround. He didn't even have nothing to say to even help us. He was part of our cause from when we did our hearing in 2019. 2019.
And then he run for mayor?
And exactly. So the fact is, everybody here, and I really hope that they did review the tape for Eric Adams' presentation that he did in front of the Supreme Court, addressing all the demands of what should be done to investigate.
And that was the D
And
theft.
it did not go through either. Jamani started it. Jamani, I don't know if they blackmailed him, from what I heard, something happened.
Well, when we went up to
And so he sat
Albany,
down.
yeah.
And so you remember
Yes,
the lobbying that we did.
yes.
And we did get through a lot. And so we do need people to continue to do the lobbying. And we do need people to do the kick down of the doors. I had 3 people that went to every single one that was on the deed theft panel hearing. That's how we got bills passed. And you know all the soldiers. Because that's how we got things done. We didn't just sit like this because we was very proactive. And we have to continuously do it on a regular basis.
Well, remember now, we gotta have our own political PAC, a 501c4, which is gonna be our own political PAC to go lobby these elected officials and let them know we want them to, sponsor bills and put bills in motion. And I'm gonna talk to the accountant and find out exactly what the forms are that's gotta be filled out for the 501c4. But that's gonna be another aspect of this. Speak up, please.
How do you find out if the remedy is defunct?
If the what now?
If the remedy, right,
Real estate, mortgage, and, what is that? And real estate, mortgage, investment, conduit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's defunct, when it went defunct.
Well, first of all, in order for the remedy to be activated, they gotta make sure that your mortgage gets into the trust before the closing date.
Right,
And they cannot activate or use, in fact, you could use that
Yeah,
as a reason to have the mortgage dissolved, and then bring, notify the IRS that they've been using your mortgage to get a tax break on it when they didn't put the mortgage into the remedy at the closing date.
right. Okay, good. How, now, my mortgage came from Delta Funding, right? And Delta Funding went bankrupt. How close, what is the association between, you understand what I'm
Well,
saying?
who foreclosed?
Not Delta.
I know that. That's why I asked.
Sir?
Yeah, that's the remedy foreclosed.
Remick can't foreclose. Remick doesn't have any interest.
The right don't have any interest in it.
No,
right?
unless it was a Remick trust.
Okay, all right, okay.
If it was a Remick trust, because Remick is the IRS program.
Yeah.
Or an IRS provision of the code.
Right.
You can get a tax break if you put your mortgage into the trust, into the PSA before the closing date.
Right.
Then you can access the Remick provisions.
So what would have happened, I think, in our case, the trust was HSBC, for the trustee, trustee for the holder. But we don't know really who is the holder.
Well, then that's where Owen comes in.
Yeah.
To tell you how to get that information.
Yeah.
So once you know who the real party in interest is, and it's not the party that's actually bringing the suit, then you can get that judgment voided. It's a void judgment.
And they don't understand the imperative of doing the title search. People don't understand. It's like you go do blood work for your body. That's how the doctor understands what his ailment is.
Well, that's why I told my beloved brother right here that it all hinges on you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do your due diligence, like my beloved sister says, then you can't help yourself, let alone we help you.
That's largely why they keep doing what they're doing.
And getting away with it. Okay? Any more questions? Yes.
There was an agency, because you mentioned earlier the Delta Integrity Board,
No, data.
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 Now, I remember once you immediately reminded a conversation we had years ago. You told me about, I think it's general accounting. It's something, it's I think a federal agency that oversees reports in terms of the, like, any financial matters?
That's correct.
General accounting?
No, that's the Federal Reserve. That's GAAP, but over the courts itself, they should have, I don't know if they call it DIB, but they should have one too. And I think it's not, what is it?
What is the-
Data Integrity Board. That's on the state level.
Okay,
Okay.
that's part of also where we're gonna be lobbying against the ethics board, right? The Senate has an ethics board. It was one or two of us that was supposed to have been on the hearing, some of them are not here, right? And they canceled it. Didn't even apologize, nothing. Now, the young lady who was running for office for mayor, Myra Wiley, okay, she was the human rights advocate in City Hall. We had people to contact her. We had some people in the Bronx contacted the representative in the Bronx about human rights. Those people ignored us. Because it has to come from there first. City Hall has a human rights department. And people are not filing with them. 311, people are not calling them. If you and everybody else pick up that phone and start calling 311 and it goes straight to the mayor's office, everybody and their mother should be calling. Everybody should be filing complaints with the IRS.
Agreed.
You had a consumer, what you call it? What is it called?
Department of Consumer
CFC?
Affairs? Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
CF something?
The Consumer Affairs.
CFPB?
Biden had
That's
removed-
Consumer Finance Protection Bureau,
I
CFPB.
filed with them.
Biden is a joke. Biden had removed the president of the CFC because they didn't follow through either. So they have somebody new there, so I'm gonna go file, okay, and what? Nothing is coming back, no response, because again, the transparency game.
Well, you know,
Hochul, I'm sorry,
uh-huh.
Hochul, the governor, when she came in after Cuomo left, oh, we're gonna file a transparency law. She didn't even do it. So that's why the 421A tax rebate is still going on and it's still the corruption there. So people gotta really see where this is coming from. It's not being enforced on all levels. You have Maxine Waterman in Washington. She fights for her homeowners in California. Corey Bush. Yes, and Corey Bush, she fights for her homeowners as well. So the fact is, you gotta follow the money, you gotta see the platform of what and who's doing what.
Is Hakeem Jeffries from here?
Yes.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah.
Hakeem Jeffries, right? Me and him,
Unfortunately,
it's unfortunately, we broken bread, we're all close, right? Until when it comes to this kind of system here, everybody's a zombie and nobody knows who at all. They don't see face, they only see this. That's all it comes down to,
I got a question.
okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Delta filed bankruptcy, and I want to see was the property considered, was the property put into that bankruptcy? You have to list all your excess, right?
You can do that,
I can do that, right?
yes. Now, Delta filed for bankruptcy.
Right.
Now, the question I have, who was the trustee of that bankruptcy? So you need to find that out too.
Okay.
Because normally when a business files for bankruptcy, they appoint a liquidator or receivers,
Right.
all these type of things. And these people should be identified in the court docket. So if you go on Pacer
Right.
and you look up,
I got
that
the case, so I
case.
can find out.
Yeah, so then you look and see who all the parties was and, what motion practice they did and what role they played. Because it may have been a receivership, it may have been a liquidator.
Right.
You need to know, well, you also need to know what assets was included into that,
Yeah, I want to see the property.
Right.
Okay.
okay?
They want to say regarding what the sister said regarding the lack of response from the friend's party.
Well, I was just gonna refer to what he said to that, which was you still have to exhaust your administrative remedies. I would keep a record of it, everything and everyone who you spoke to, and write down contemporaneously what was discussed and what they said. Like you're telling me now, Hakeem Jeffries, basically don't even see you now. And who knows, maybe because he's being funded by these banks,
Follow the money.
Yeah, but that's my point to you. But that's what happened when we went up to Albany. I mean, these people was like, hey, before you do what you do, let us know you're gonna do it first.
Donors.
Yeah, because
This back
they
for the money.
yeah,
I've been in room, donors.
yeah.
This is a lot of money.
Yeah, well, so what you have to unfortunately already presume that they've all sold out. Because they wouldn't even have those positions if they, to some degree, they didn't sell out.
That's what I want to point out. Years ago when the Lincolns was there, it's my son in junior high wrote in his, I saw him in one of his books. Where Lincoln said two things. This one is not quite right. You don't have to be loud to be strong. But the key part I want to say here, he said, the narrow position is on the way up. One worse, you go in there with all that you want to do, then you find the bureaucracy, all the strongholds that surround.
Well,
undermining you, and if you don't go with the flow, it's either.
One of the disadvantages we as a people suffer is a lack of political astuteness.
Hello.
And it's understandable because we've been betrayed and just downplayed and disregarded so long. In fact, the whole civil rights movement was a miracle, but I mean, look what it took. You had people burned in the buses with the Freedom Riders. You had Bull Connor beating people over the head, fire hoses. I mean, it took extreme, just short of revolutionary types of activity to get those civil rights laws passed. And they're taking them away every day. The Supreme Court just passed the denial of affirmative action. They're taking them all away. But there presently is no political force that's recognized, not the NAACP, not name any of the other ones from the past, CORE. None of these entities are either active or respectable.
Now,
Yes, sir.
the organization that usually funds college students, Black college students, they now have to stop that organization.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They told me that they have to stop. Now, there's going to be, we're gonna have that on the affirmative action. Yes, so there's gonna be a thing there, August 26th. If anybody wants to go, y'all can. We're going to Washington.
That's the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington.
Yeah.
Good.
So you can network. There's many people going to be there. But networking, already. Now, the thing is this. I would say, as far as the politician goes, election time is always arising. And when they feel comfortable, and they know that we're very quiet, we don't have much to say about anything, and we're not up in their face. And we have to now continue to remind them that you need us, we don't need you. And the next step we're going now is the economy protests. Because now we're gonna have to build our own establishments. We don't need you, you need us. We spend more money than anybody else, plus we pay more taxes than anyone else. In regards to bankruptcy, we're fighting also for legislation for creating wrongful credit, bad credit. That's why the other day, Biden said, if you have bad credit, you can purchase a home and your interest will be lowered. If you have good credit, your interest will be higher to purchase a home. Because that's the direction we're going. Because credit bureaus is illegal anyway. So you hit us all those areas, I'm hitting you back. Because that's where you really trying to take us apart. You arresting us on our property, giving us a bad record as well, and people need to be educated and understand that if you go and you see a lock on your door, take it off. Go back in your property and stay there.
So the key factor that I'm hearing from you is we have to be more organized and proactive in dealing with all of these things, because, yes, sir,
And have an agenda.
that's
I
key.
stress that before, 'cause
That's key.
We get riled up. I'm in alignment with everything.
She's right.
Sister
She's
said.
Karen,
She's
that's
told-
Karen, yeah.
Yeah,
But what
she's
I
right.
find that many of us, we don't have an agenda. We don't have,
There's no structure.
something right, something laid out, because if you fighting to the point with your adversary, we have to actually visualize our success. We have to visualize ourselves at that point where our adversaries are sitting across the table from us and they're asking us, what do you want?
I'm gonna give you an
Yes.
example.
You
And
look-
we have to have a bullet point list stipulating all our specifics.
Right.
This is what we want.
What's our
This is
demands?
how long we
List
want
of
it.
demands.
Right, we have to do that. And many of us, we have to shake off this fear we have of, it's like, like we halfway with it. We get emotional, want to fight, and then when like a little success comes, we just,
We going out
we're
there.
sorry, we
But to say to you, this brother right here, we've been in the trenches, Hondo.
Yeah.
And my brother here. When we went to Trump, didn't Trump invite us to Trump Tower? Even though we knew his family was all involved in real estate. Invited our brother Codwell on the plane to Vegas when he had his inauguration. So I'm telling you, that it's a game going on, but you gotta get attention some way. And we were successful. We made the papers. We were successful. That's why you see things start to move.
What is the recourse? We go there, we try to fight it, we know they don't do it, and when they don't do it, what do we do then?
I think in light of that, we should also have a plan, something in motion where it's a consequence.
That's what
They
I'm
have to know that there's a
saying.
consequence to not, because they respect power. So you don't have to be as strong. You have a bigger opponent.
That's good.
then you come
You
out
got a
strong.
good point there. You're making a real good point.
But if you're smaller than an opponent, because you have a bigger opponent, naturally they have the size and they hit you, hit harder. But your advantage, no, hold on, but if you're lighter, the advantage you have is speed, agility. So they can't hit, they can't hurt, but they can't hit. So we have to take that principle and apply that law-wise, okay? And they're gonna tire you. A bigger opponent, they swinging, they can't get you, you're deflecting, you're deflecting.
Yeah.
All right, they're gonna sit down, they're gonna be like, okay, what do you want?
I
So
only
we have to
follow-
make it a consequence. That's how they respect you. They say, you know what, this ain't no singing person. They don't want to hold hands.
I heard that this morning. I said, okay, no, stop singing, start swinging.
Yeah. I said that.
Malcolm X,
I
right.
only follow Harriet Tubman's mission. It's only one person, and she didn't have to depend on the world to do it. And when we did what we did, we did not depend on everybody. Because it gets to a point sometimes, it can get frustrating, because you're trying to pull people in, but they're looking at you like, well, I got my own agenda, I ain't got no time for that, blah, blah.
Well, that's why we come, this is the thing I think, Karen,
You have an agenda. That's why,
yep,
that to the point.
That's why
where
we're here.
they're buying y'all in, they can, invite you to the table. So many of our people need to follow the template that you all set.
And some of our troops left because of COVID. But if they were here now, it'd be a wreck. I'm telling you. That's
Well,
why they were so comfortable.
we got 5 minutes left, okay?
You wanna try one again, real quick?
Good.
Try one again, real quick?
Oh,
Try. Also, I wanted to mention that August 12th, we're having I want to invite everybody to come. August 12th, we're going to have a direct action. We're going to be a part of the Universal Hip Hop Parade, which is going out through Bed-Stuy, about 2 miles, from Von King Park down Marcus Garvey, up Marcus Garvey to Fulton Street down to Bedford Avenue. So this group is being invited to take a direct action with banners about our cause, with a parade that's been going on for 19 years through the Bed-Stuy area. So August 12th, look for to be a part of that.
What time?
Can I ask you something?
Yeah. 10 a.m.
Von
This
King
is
Park.
Von King Park,
This is
10 to
big.
3.
This is bigger too.
So, yeah,
Labor Day.
Labor
You know,
Day.
used to do Labor Day. But
Well, we get our banners and we can walk Labor Day too.
Cause I used
But
to
I'm
do it.
specifically talking about what we have our hands on August 12th. August 12th is right here.
Right. but-
So another day, not to add, I'm gonna add on to your flow. Another date would be that date that we as a group could, again, let the rest of this community know that we exist.
They all there.
Right. So that's a direct action, August 12th, that would be ours. I'm suggesting that we as a group be a part of a procession of this parade with our banners representing what we're all about, August 12th.
And those
10 to
same
3.
brothers unite with everybody now.
They will.
To
And the
come
other thing
on
too.
Labor Day, because all the politicians are there with the straw hats and they.
See, this is the thing. What you don't know, like about me in this room, what's important to me is that we're in this room organizing ourselves. I could push a button and get more people in here, but I'm not interested in that. I have what they call, throughout my years of my relationships so I can get a lot of people, but more importantly, it's important for us to have our thing tight first. So I'm more happy that we're in the room discussing and fighting among ourselves first before we go out to the masses of bringing all the other people who need us. There's a lot of people who really need us, but we got to get our thing together tight in this room. I can get on the phone and call and get on the radio and get on TV and blow it right up. But we don't need to be overwhelmed with a lot of headaches right yet until we get our thing tight. And I think we're on the right track getting our thing tight. I have the access to get a lot of attention to what we're doing. But I'm not one of those persons who want to crowd when we're really getting our stuff together tight right now. And I think after so many weeks, we are getting tighter. You know, so I wanted to put my 2 cents in and say, like, listen, we're in a good position right now because we've been consistent coming in this room, trying to figure this out and fight back with real power. And that's how at the end of the day, like the brother says, and you know this, Karen knows this too. These politicians ain't gonna hear nothing. They ain't gonna hear nothing. But we tight in this room.
They don't action though.
We tight in this room, guarantee we can rise up the rest of the masses out. But the core group ain't tight.
Right.
So I don't really want a crowd yet. You know, not yet. You know, we gonna get it, but first let's do what we're doing right now.
So let me
So
say
what-
what.
Sure, question.
Oh, sorry. So the question is, like brother said, what Karen is saying, what is the agenda? What are the timeframes? Right?
Right, agenda time frames.
And
I'm gonna let
The agenda,
so we need to brainstorm.
yeah,
okay, it's a three-pronged
That's
agenda.
right.
It's a three-pronged.
that's right, Ivy.
First thing is to acquire and accumulate proof of all the toxic assignments of mortgages, deeds. We need to accumulate and acquire that proof.
Accumulate and acquire proof, the agenda,
We need to do our research.
okay? Accumulate and acquire proof.
Second prong is to get in these elected official stations with the proof.
Elected officials' faces with
With the proof.
that's the second thing.
That's the second.
Elected officials' faces. I love the plan of action.
And hold a press conference.
And 3, hold a press
No,
conference.
that's-
In addition to,
In addition to that,
okay,
hold a press conference after we've spoken to, because 3 is gonna be the lawsuit.
okay,
Well, you can make 3, hold a press conference.
okay.
4 is the lawsuit. We're gonna file a lawsuit. And I have to meditate on whether it's gonna be a civil RICO or a Title 42.
Did we answer that, family? Did we answer?
That's the immediate,
Brother, do we
that's
answer
the
that?
immediate agenda.
I'm with that.
In response to the script,
I can't hear you.
I feel you. I said.
I've already got statutes and codes going
I can-
on, and I'm listening of which statutes and codes to add
Oh.
into that.
Ashe.
can you give us a type of format of what?
That's what he was supposed to do today.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
but he got sick the last time. No, he got sick this time. The last time he got cut off.
How?
All right. The other thing is
Yes.
has to have foundation.
Yes, that's the first thing. So what he just said is true. Brother Owen has to give you instructions on how to research, what to look for.
Just to interject, brother, Anderson did give us information, and, brother Armando just told
That's
in regards to, how to do the research. He said, you have to look at banks. You have to consider looking at banks. I don't know what your bank is,
Do the search.
and then you have to go by the zip code, and then you're able to see how many properties in that one neighborhood that have that particular bank auctions on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I call those days the lynching days.
And then you go to the city records, you go to the county records and look
As far as.
at the assignment, because he asked about the assignments.
As far as notarization and things like that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right. But what she's saying is a good start. Like you see what's for foreclosure on that day, and then you get a list, you get that list, and then you go down to the county records and pull the assignments of mortgage and all the taxes paid.
All right, good.
Make sure
All
your
right.
phone,
Pastor Hat Foundation, okay.
make sure your phone is empty, you got some space in there. So when you go, you can take a picture on the court steps. The list is right there. You just take a picture, take a couple pictures, right? When you go inside, if you ain't got time, you can just use your phone and put it on video, and scan all these documents real quick, and be out.
And
Out of state notaries.
that's true.
Does everybody got that?
But Owen can't do all of that for everybody.
Right.
I know that.
You know, if you go look at 10 and he go look at 10, and we need to know what we're looking for.
Right, there's a timeline, there is a timeline of doing this, this whole process. Are we talking a year, are we talking 6 months?
No, we're talking, if possible, when is the next meeting gonna be?
August 12th.
No, you said that's the hip hop.
Okay, that's it. Well, we create the next meeting. It's up to
Let
us.
me see, let me make sure.
We gotta have a timeline.
Yeah, you said that's the hip hop.
Yeah.
So when we wanna see the outcome.
September?
We gotta,
What is this July?
Yeah.
This is July.
Gotta do something in August.
August when?
I'm looking now.
Yeah.
We gotta have a timeline.
Oh, that's.
To where we wanna see.
Well,
And it has to be on a Saturday, right?
it should be.
August 19th.
progress of what our agenda and mission is.
Right.
We gotta have a timeline. Is it 6 months for this to occur? Because we gotta have groups of people.
6 months.
Going to
Let's
be-
say 6 months.
Well, hold on.
Okay, go.
Hold on. By August 12th, we should have, let's say 30 reports. I'd like to have more. Yes, sir.
The reports are strictly for the politicians or the reports are for the.
That's for us to review. When he says reports or when I say reports, we gotta get the paperwork out of the county records for us to create the report.
And that is for politicians.
That's correct.
Okay, that's.
That's,
You know,
and
that's
before
not
we can get to 6 months,
Right.
we need to get that information first, before we can get, because I'm gonna be quite honest with you. Once we got that information, it shouldn't be no more than a week after that we sitting down in front of elected officials' faces.
Okay, but that's not necessarily the homeowners that would be part of the foreclosure trust lawsuit.
That's correct. They don't have to be. They don't have to. The only ones that the lawsuit is being
Right.
filed for is who signs on as a participant in the contract. But that don't mean we can't use other people's mortgages to say that, look, all of these people's houses been defrauded,
Okay.
okay?
We have the gentleman, I'm sorry, Eric, that just won. And I sent some people here, his case, that he just won his property back. Eric Brian, he is a gentleman who did, the testimony for the deed theft. And he just got his property back. I wanted him to come today, but he was not able to, right? Because, you know, at the deed theft hearing, he was magnificent, okay? Very expressive. Mind you, we had our own hearing prior to theirs. And we're still seeing in litigations. So we'll talk more about the difference in what he did at his hearing and why he's out of his litigations. Because it's very interesting, and I will speak to you about that.
Okay, so again, back to the agenda.
Let's see.
By
Yeah.
August 19th,
Everybody, okay, everybody contribute, let me do a counting.
By
So
Au-
far,
by
we have
August
close to
19th,
700.
which is a little more than a month from now.
Thank you.
By August 19th, we need to accumulate
Oh, you're good.
as much toxic debt
Thank you.
documents out of the county records as we can accumulate. It doesn't have to be your house alone, it can be everybody. Pull it. When you go in there with your little highlighter pen, you find something on there that there's a discrepancy with that, you highlight it and you put it in a pile. Now, mind you, that's gonna cost some money because
You gotta.
to make copies,
Well, Hondo doesn't pay the
unless you can take pictures,
Well,
You
you
take
can
pictures,
take pictures,
right?
but if you do buy it, bring your receipts, that's all.
right?
It's
So
not-
take pictures of as many toxic paper as you can accumulate and find. We need to vet it, we need to I'll bring on down here and go over everybody's pile and
Okay.
see what we find, right?
What toxic is.
Oh, toxic, meaning, fraud,
Discrepancies.
yeah, whatever,
We gotta put information.
that's where Owen comes in. I got you, I'm with you.
Okay.
Sorry.
4, 5, 6, 5.
Okay.
That you referring
No, the reports is gonna be what we accumulate, that's gonna be the
Give that to
report.
Ms. Dockery.
Think of that as our focus group report.
Ms. Dockery first. No, Ms. Dockery, the lady behind the inventory. And she's the one who does that. Thank you, sweetheart. So what do we collect there total?
I can hear a word you saying,
60, 70,
Three examples of discrepancies that they're looking at.
that's where Owen would come in, and he was
So we
sick,
gotta get a timeline with Owen, brother
Right.
Owen, so that
Right.
some
Great.
homeowners now who are waiting to do this,
Not many people.
he's got to put together something together